Still watching News Day, welcome back. The Nigerian Hypertension Society is calling for regular high blood pressure checks to facilitate early detection. The Society's president made this call at a news conference in Sokoto to mark this year's World Hypertension Day, which raises awareness for the prevention, early detection and treatment of the disease. He stressed the importance of traditional measures in preventing hypertension, such as consuming African foods derived from roots, stems and leaves, engaging in regular exercise and maintaining a healthy weight.
Prevention of hypertension may not be always possible or feasible, and in this case, emphasis should be on early detection of hypertension. This requires regular blood pressure check. Regular blood pressure check, again, cannot be possible unless there is sustained public enlightenment to improve awareness about hypertension. The critical roles of the media in these regards, especially in correcting widespread sociocultural belief and social media propagated misconceptions about hypertension, cannot be overemphasized. We health workers should utilize every contact we have with our patients or clients as opportunities to check or measure blood pressures, irrespective of the reasons for the consultations. In the immediate, healthcare providers are encouraged to cautiously use the most affordable and available effective and safe medicines for treatment of hypertension. Government should take necessary measures to bring down the prices of medicines. On the long term, local manufacture of these medicines should be encouraged, and government at all levels should prioritize universal health coverage.
Let's now turn to Dr. Lilian Ochayi, registrar at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, to discuss the message of World Hypertension Day, which reads, measure your blood pressure accurately, control it, live longer. I want to say thank you very much. All right, if we were to go by the theme of this year's World Hypertension Day, please can you help us explain in details what this theme seeks to send in terms of the message?
Okay. The theme is trying to say that we should make it a priority to measure our blood pressures regularly. And it also added that it should be done accurately because as much as we ask people to check their blood pressures, it's also important that they do it accurately, because if not done accurately, there could be some disparities and in the figures. So speaking to how it should be done, or let's speak to hypertension generally. So we know that it's something that it's also known as high blood pressure.
I was about to ask that. They use them interchangeably.
Yeah, they do.
One and the same thing.
Yeah, okay. They use them interchangeably. But it's basically the heart is responsible for pumping out blood to all other parts of the body. So the pressure at which the heart pumps blood when it contracts and relaxes is what is measured as the blood pressure. So there's a range. So we know that we want your blood pressure to be below 130 over 80, but when it's 140, 90 and upward, then it's classified as high blood pressure. So to measure accurately, it's important that if you have the monitoring machine in your home, you have to sit with your back, comfortable in a chair, with your feet flat on the floor, not crossed, and then also your arm should be at the level of your heart resting, and before then you're supposed to have taken 5 minutes rest, no movement, and then just checking. So you should have rested for about 5 minutes, and then you sit and then check. So while checking, I mentioned feet flat on the floor, back rested, arms at the heart level, And also the cuff should be of appropriate size.
Okay.
Yes, that would also affect the reading if it's not of appropriate size. And it should also be placed on the skin, not over a dress or something. That will also affect. And I also didn't mention that before checking, the bladder should also be emptied. You shouldn't be pressed while checking the blood pressure. So these are ways that, it can be measured accurately.
All right, doctor. Now, since the advent of World Hypertension Day, has there been more awareness on the need for people to be cautious of their blood pressure shortcomings within Nigeria and globally? We can use Nigeria as a case study.
I think this is one advantage of the World Health Days, like we're having like the World Hypertension Day now. It's just a way to remind us that these conditions exist, because globally we're looking at over 1 billion people that are living with hypertension presently, and about 46% of them are unaware that they have this condition. So it gives us, it tells us that we should do more of campaigns and creating awareness. And this is also a way that, people can be well informed that hypertension is something quite serious. And because it usually presents without symptoms, it's difficult for people to know. So the way they can find out is by checking. So we also have to just keep spreading awareness, and I believe we're trying, but it's still not enough. Yes.
Because if you don't mind, Aaron, you have a scenario where you have you mark world days for this and that. But what happens after that day? What about follow-ups, enlightenment, awareness?
Yeah. So those days, yes, they bring everybody's attention to those particular conditions, but aside from those days, health workers are still, doing what they can. I know there's still community outreaches that happen from time to time. And it's also a necessity that anybody that comes to a health facility must have their BP checked, irrespective of whatever medical condition you came there for. So these are ways that, we are also helping to, reduce the burden of hypertension.
All right. Can you tell me the main cause of hypertension?
Okay, so for hypertension, so it's basically classified into two types, right? So we have the primary and the secondary. So for the primary, the main cause is not so identified, but we know that there are risk factors that predispose people to having hypertension, and majority of hypertensive patients have this primary hypertension. So risk factors like smoking, excessive alcohol intake, stress, that's also one major one. And then lack of physical activity is also one, obesity, and also high salt intake, dietary, things like that. So these are things that predispose people. So these are ones that can be modified. Okay. But the non-modifiable ones are the genetic, predisposition. So people that it runs in their family, there's a chance you could be hypertensive. And also advancing age is also a risk factor. The older one gets, the higher the risk of, being hypertensive.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, now, it's interesting, but you've talked about the issue of classification of hypertension in this regard. But what happens if hypertension is not properly managed or diagnosed? What are the end results of ailments that could happen in this regard?
So that is basically one of the main reasons why it's important that we're creating awareness, because, like I said earlier, it often presents without symptoms. So people would not even know that they have this condition. And the blood pressure just keeps building up until it gets to a complicated stage. And then, they start to notice non-specific symptoms like headache, blurry vision, maybe nosebleeds, things like that. So when it gets to that point, then when they go to the hospital and they check, they see that, oh, it's elevated.
So is that a death sentence at that stage, or it can still be salvaged?
It depends. Depending on what stage it is. Some people just, have heart attacks. Some people have stroke. Some go into heart failure. So depending on the time, the symptom manifested and, the person was taken to hospital. Yeah. So yeah, if it hasn't gone so far that the person cannot, be, revived then. So yeah, it's not a death sentence, but if not detected early enough, it results in deaths and disabilities. So yeah.
Okay. Two questions. Firstly, there's a lot of emphasis on high blood pressure. Yeah. But also I know that you also run a grave risk if you have low blood pressure. I would like you to talk about that and also address the issue about pregnant women and high blood pressure.
Okay, all right. So yes, with we focus on hypertension because a lot of people are hypertensive and unaware. But even in management of hypertension, you see that we still want to, when managing and giving medications, we still want to make sure that we don't crash the blood pressure, because that could also lead to, from there, low blood pressure, you see that people could die from that. So it's also important that even for those that are hypertensive, when taking their medications, they have their machine that they can check regularly. So once you're on medications for hypertension, it's not that same medication you're going to continue with for life. So you keep going to the doctor. They make adjustments in your medications. Some people just feel they start taking the drug and that's it. And, their body is now getting used to it, or the dose is now too much for them at a point, and then the blood pressure just keeps going down. So it's important to avoid the blood pressure going extremely low, to keep checking and also going to to see the doctor for adjustments in medications. Then you spoke about, you asked about the pregnant women.
Yes.
So yes, we see that a couple of cases come up where in pregnancy women develop hypertension. So just like...
Why is that so? Because it's very puzzling to me, because...
Yeah, so just like how we have hypertension coming up for, like, we can't really identify why they come up, but we know that some conditions or some things make people increase their chance of having it. So in this situation, not all pregnant women have, it's called gestational hypertension. Not all pregnant women have that, but you see that some of them have that. So, and it's just happens during pregnancy, and during this period they have to be on medications, and once the baby is out, their blood pressure goes back to normal. So it's also something that would easily be detected when the mother goes for antenatal and all that.
All right, so just before we go, doctor, what age group are usually prone to hypertension possibilities, and or is it a widespread phenomenon here? Yeah, so from what we know, it worsens with it presents with advancing age, so usually 65 and above. But young people also can get hypertension, especially from hereditary cases where, it's in the family. And also the same risk factors that adults are, Lifestyles as well?
Yes, obesity is also one. You see that adolescents that are obese also come with high blood pressure. And yes, so it's also important that we also check in our adolescents and not just neglect them and focus only on the adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed. Especially the jet lifestyle of today,
as
it were.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, Dr. Lilian Ochayi, Registrar at Lagos University Teaching Hospital, would like to thank you for your thoughts on World Hypertension Day. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.